Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Damned by Renee Ahdieh. I finished this book this morning, which by the time you're viewing this will have been a while ago, but that's not the point here. I finished this morning and I literally wanted to scream, so that's why we're here. So let me start by giving you a summary of the first book, even though probably if you're here you've already read the first book, but if you haven't, just in case, let me catch you up. So in the first book we follow Celine, who has recently moved from France to New Orleans because she's trying to escape her past. As she begins to make a new life for herself in New Orleans, she meets the mysterious Court of Lions, and she gets wrapped up in the dark things going on in this court. One of the most prominent members of the Court of Lions is Bastien, and Celine immediately starts feeling a pull towards Bastien that she can't fully explain. And so we follow her as she starts getting closer to Bastien, but at the same time finds herself at the center of a series of murders. So as the novel progresses, we're trying to find out who committed these murders and why they seem to be happening in such close proximity to Celine. And of course, there are vampires and werewolves. We have kind of a love triangle going on between Celine, Bastien, and Michael. Bastien is the one who comes from a vampire family, and of course Michael is the one who comes from a werewolf family, because if we're going to have a love triangle when there are vampires and werewolves, of course we have to have a vampire and a werewolf. It's the nature of the beast. So okay, let's get started with this review. Again, since this is a review for a sequel, this is going to be a very spoilery review. I'm probably going to be mentioning spoilers both for the first book and for the second book. So if you haven't read them, this is not the video for you, unfortunately. Okay, so one of the things that make this a more complicated reading experience for me is the fact that even though I would give my life for Bastien and Celine, the two of them got on my fucking nerves in this book. They got on my nerves so bad. Not again to the point of making me hate this book or even dislike this book, but to the point where I wanted to throw the book against the wall if I had had it physically, because I have been reading this series as audiobooks, so I had nothing except my phone to throw against the wall, and I wasn't gonna do that. The main reason is that Bastien has a classic vampire angst going on in this book, because he gets turned at the end of book 1 into a vampire. He is not a vampire in the first book, but that is what happens in the conclusion of the first book. And so he is all drama about it. He's all like, I'm soulless, I'm going to live in the darkness forever, I can't love anybody, who would love me, I'm a monster, I'm only ever going to do horrible things. And I'm here like, sir, get a fucking grip. Legitimately, the man has grown up with a family of vampires and still he has such a horrible view of being a vampire. I'm like, how? Sir, how? I don't understand. I don't understand. So dealing with his angsty ass was annoying. At first I was into it, mostly because at first he was more on the angry side. I like righteous anger, especially when I agree with the righteous anger. So Bastien had a lot of that going on early on in the book. So when he was just mad at everyone else for allowing him to be turned into a vampire because he didn't want to be a vampire, when he had that frustration, that anger, and he was turning against his own family, I was like, yes, I enjoy this. This is a good time. But when he turned those angry boy vibes into sad boy vibes, I was just like, I'm over this. So tired of it. So tired of it. Even though it led to some moments that I did enjoy because they're very tropey, but in a very juicy and delicious way. Even though they did give me those interactions, those moments, it was still mostly frustrating. I still mostly kind of wanted to slap him in the face. So that was what's going on with Bastien. Celine. My issues with Celine is that throughout the whole book, she's stringing Michael along like a fucking puppy on a leash, and I needed her to let go of that fucking leash. I was so tired of it. she clearly, even though her memories were taken from her, because okay, again, if you're somehow, some way here and you haven't read the first book, in exchange for saving Bastian's life and turning him into a vampire, Celine had to give up her memories of Bastien. So in this book, she doesn't remember Bastien, but she's desperately trying to recover her memories because she gets flashes of what happened on the day that she and Bastien were attacked. So she's trying to piece it all together, and she's very curious about what happened because she's a woman who gives a shit about her life. So she's like, what the fuck happened? I don't like having holes in my memory. What is this nonsense? So throughout that, she's spending a lot of time with Michael because, again, in the first book, we established the love triangle. And so Michael is very clearly interested in Celine, and since she got hurt and she doesn't remember Bastien, he's spending a lot of time with her as she recovers. But with her interactions with him, she is clearly not as interested in him. She intellectually is like, I should like this guy. So in her head, she's like, there's so many good traits Michael has, so I should like him. I should reciprocate his feelings. But she doesn't. She doesn't actually feel the way that he does. And so she just keeps spending time with him and keeps leading him on. And I'm like, ma'am, let this man go. Why are you holding on to him so much when you yourself are not even convinced you want to? It was just so frustrating, especially once she sees Bastien and she has this instant connection and she feels immediately like, I had something with this guy. There was something going on between us. Even after that, she's still fucking leading Michael on, and I'm just here like, Michael Grimaldi deserves so much better than this. But I have issues with Michael that we will talk about shortly. So with Celine, I'm like, girl, you know what you want. You know you want to be swept off your feet. You know you want to have a passionate romance. So why are you trying to be with Michael when you know he doesn't do that for you? Like, you think he's lovely, and he is. Great guy. But if you're not feeling what you want, why don't you just let him go? I need the answer. Okay? I need the answer. And it especially pissed me off when she had a conversation with Bastien, when Bastien is peak emo boy and he is being like, no, even though I love you, I can't be with you because I can't pull you into the darkness with me. Whatever. He gave her that whole spiel. Her answer was basically to be like, Bastien said no, so I'm going to tell Michael that we're going to be together. Ma'am, why? No. The answer was just to let both of them go, okay? That was the actual answer. So Celine was getting on my nerves because of that. And then Michael Grimaldi. I keep saying his whole name sometimes because one, I like the sound of it, and two, they just mention it a lot, and I'm more scared of saying Bastien's last name. Like, I know it's like Saint-Germain or something. I'm more scared of the pronunciation of Bastien's name, so he stays as Bastien. But Michael Grimaldi, that's a nice last name. I like saying it. So my issue with Michael is that he's a great guy, but the man has no self-respect. No self-respect. He somehow thinks that Celine genuinely wants to be with him, even though literally he is second best to Bastien. I'm like, sir, the only reason Celine is spending time with you right now is because she can't remember shit of her interactions with Bastien. If she remembered her interactions with Bastien, this would not be happening. What's happening here? It would not be happening. So I'm like, how can you not see that? I'm like, how can you be in a different stratosphere to that level? Because it's literally a different stratosphere. Because when Michael and Celine finally kiss, this woman is literally thinking about the fact that the kiss is not like how it was with Bastien. It's not as amazing, incredible, mind-blowing. I'm like, how can she be having that experience and you read that experience as being something that she was very into? I'm like, sir, no. I'm like, you're reading the energy in the room incorrectly. You're not reading it right, and honestly, it kind of makes me not respect you a little bit. Because otherwise, I really do like Michael. I think he's a nice boy. I think he's great. I think he's wonderful. But the fact that he genuinely cannot see how Celine doesn't give a shit about him in the same way that he does is beyond me. And I couldn't deal with that. Couldn't deal with it. No, could not. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Okay, what else do I have to say? Well, these people. Next thing that got on my nerves about this book is that I feel gaslighted. Let me explain. In book 1, Pippa and Odette had these background interactions going on that I read as incredibly queer. And The Damned has made me question the way I read those interactions. First of all, we have Pippa pretending like she is very in love with her fiance. And I say pretending deliberately because I did not buy it. I did not buy it for a second, not even a millisecond, that she actually was interested in this man. And most of it is again because her interactions with Odette in The Beautiful were very sapphic. They were very queer coded. Again, at least that's how I read them. But now when I read this book and with the events that transpired, I'm like, did I put my gay lenses on and confuse myself? Did I play myself? That's not necessarily unexpected, but it is upsetting anyway, if it is. Because here what happened was that, yeah, we have Pippa who gets engaged to this man and she's trying to be all like, I chose to love him, I chose to be with him, he will give me the stability I need, so yeah, that's what I want. And so we had a complete lack basically of interactions between Pippa and Odette, and I was so mad about it, so upset, so disturbed. And then, big spoiler here for The Damned, big spoiler, Odette fucking dies at the end of The Damned. And I'm like, you really played me like this, Renee Ahdieh. You really played with me like this. You gave me the queer notes. You played the song for me. And then you come at me in this book and not only do Odette and Pippa barely interact at all in any shape or form, Odette dies? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I do not accept that. I am deeply disturbed and upset by it. Like, I'm literally getting chills. I'm talking about it right now. Oh my God. I can't believe they killed Odette. No puede ser. No puede ser. And let me tell y'all the other reason why it upsets me. One, I was really thinking Renee Ahdieh was gonna serve me the side queer vibes that I want. So not only was I robbed of Pippa and Odette, but then I was robbed of Odette in general, who is a queer icon. And then the only other significant queer character we have is Emily, who is our villain, who I anticipate to die when this series concludes. So I'm like, you really gonna give me the gays and take them from me? Like, I'm not opposed to the gays being bad. I'm like, we had Odette, who was a mixed bag, which I respect and I'm totally for. And we have Emily, who is just bad. I'm like, I'm okay with that. But when you take away the nicer one, who is the most significant queer character, then I'm like, what is happening? What are you doing? Why are you playing me? I'm like, why are you hurting me in this way? I don't like it. I don't like the way I'm being hurt right now. Yeah. That was a thing, and it does not, again, it does not bode well for me what's going to happen in the rest of the books, because I'm like, am I going to have to be upset with Renee Ahdieh for killing the gays? I'm like, am I gonna have to, do I have to go there? I did not want to go there. I do not want to. I do not want to go on that adventure. And like, okay, hear me out. Odette and Emily, I'm pretty confident, are not the only queer characters here, but they are the most significant ones, which is why it makes it more upsetting to me that all of this happened. So I don't like it. But the one I do like is probably also going to be turned against me, and that is Arjun. Arjun? Oh my gosh, why am I like this? Anyway, Arjun is my king. I love Arjun because of all the characters in the stupid ass book. He's the one who has a brain cell. He only has one though. That's the sad part. That's the sad part. This boy is too into being a sacrificial lamb. He's too willing to give it all for his friends, which is why I love him. But at the same time, I'm like, Arjun is gonna be taken from me. I feel it here. I feel it and I don't like it. And I don't like it because I don't like it when they take my babies from me. And the reason why I'm going to be upset, I think, is because I think they're going to make a whole thing between Pippa and Arjun, and I don't want it to happen. Arjun is baby. Love him. He's wonderful. He's great. But I don't want Pippa and Arjun. I want Pippa to be... I mean, okay. Pippa can be queer and be with Arjun. Like, we know this. We respect and we love and we stand by the bi agenda here. You got a bi person here. I know. I know we can be queer and like both men, women, anyone. I understand. But when I felt so played in the first book, giving me this, I'm like, no, I don't want Arjun and Pippa. And then they also threw a curveball in the end. They also threw kind of Michael as something maybe with him and Pippa. And I'm like, what is happening? What is happening? I don't know. But I don't want Arjun and Pippa because literally it's just that Pippa read very sapphic to me. That's the thing. She read extremely sapphic. So although she would be perfectly in her rights to be queer and end up with a man anyway, I would like to be actually validated in her being queer. Like, okay, if we end up with Arjun and Pippa or Pippa and Michael, I need it to be established that Pippa is queer. I need her to acknowledge this because in the first book she very much read like a baby queer. She felt like a baby queer in the closet. I can understand that. I can respect that. Totally valid. But if they're just gonna fucking turn that to me completely, obliterate it like it never happened, no. Cannot accept that. I simply cannot accept it. No. So, all of that being said, why did I actually enjoy this book? The main thing is that even though Bastien and Celine infuriated me, I love their dynamic. I love it so much. By the time they get together at the end of this book, I was like, beautiful piece of art, truly masterpiece. We love it. We love it, love it, love it, love it. We love to see it. We die for it because again, it pushed it a little bit for me. It pushed a little bit, but I do love the angst of will they, won't they, the whole thing of them feeling drawn towards each other. I eat that shit up. Eat it. Love it. Live for it. So that's one of the reasons that I still enjoyed this a lot because I do like the two of them. I like their relationship and I love how protective they are of each other. I love how much they want to keep each other safe. I love how deeply they feel for one another. It's wonderful. Truly love it. It's the main reason why it's so frustrating that Celine was stringing Michael along because she so clearly feels so deeply for Bastien. The other thing is that when a book gives me such strong emotions, it's very difficult for me to say that I didn't enjoy the book. It's very hard for me to say that I was not invested in the book because I was. So even though this was so frustrating, at the same time I was right there eating it up. I was consumed by it. I kept listening to the audiobook because I was so into it. And even though I was screaming the whole time with one of my friends, because I basically live messaged this friend all my reactions to almost everything I'm reading. And I had done that for the first book. So naturally I was going to do it with the sequel. So even though most of what I was telling her was that I wanted to slap all these characters in the face, I was thriving. And one of the things I enjoyed as well is that it turns out that Celine is actually immortal. She's the daughter of Fae royalty. So it means she's an ethereal. It means she's like Arjun. It means that she is immortal. So if Bastien and her are together, they can just be vibing immortally together. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Even though Bastien is trying to turn human. So I don't know when my camera decided to stop recording because it only allows me to record basically 29 minutes at a time. So what I was trying to say was that Bastien throughout this book is trying to turn human because he thinks he's soulless and that returning to a human existence is how he will redeem himself. But part of the process of the whole book is for him to accept that he is not what he is what he does and what he chooses to do with his life. And he can always choose to be a better person. So that's part of his journey in this book, which again, I stand behind, I'm into it. But my point here is that I love that Celine is also an immortal creature, because it means they can be together forever, because I am ride or die for that shit. I love the whole vibe of living together forever. We love it here. We love it, adore it. So that's one of the things I liked, that we found out that the reason that Celine doesn't know that much about her past is because she is the daughter of Fae royalty. She gets to see her mother for the first time in many years in this book, but she learns that her mom's kind of tricky. She's kind of tricky, which is normal for a Fae. So I like that. I did like that part. And I like the part of Celine discovering her own agency, discovering that she has to take charge of her own life. She can't expect other people to tell her neither what she has done with her life, what she should do with her life, or none of that. It should always be on her terms. So I love that. It was great. It was fantastic. I also liked that even though Bastien was frustrating as hell, I liked that the book started focused on him, because the more interesting things going on were with him and not with Celine. Because Celine just lost a bunch of memories. She's trying to recover. She's not the most interesting or compelling character. So I liked that we focused on Bastien here. I also liked that we had other perspectives introduced here. We had Jay. Jay is also a man I stan. He's great. All I ever say is that he's great, whatever. But it's because I cannot be more eloquent than that. I also think he's a very compelling and interesting character, so that's why I liked having his perspective and spending time with him. He added another layer to this book that just made it enjoyable overall, and that kept you away from the complete total angst of Bastien and the mess that is Celine and Michael. So Jay is the real MVP of this book. He is. So yeah, even though there were things here that seriously upset me, I still enjoyed this. I was still completely immersed in this reading experience. So that is why I love it. And I'm certainly not frustrated enough that I don't want to read the third book. I'm dying to read the third book. I want it in my hands so badly. I'm so upset that at least at the time I'm filming this, there is not an official release date. It says it's coming out in 2021, but it doesn't say when, and I need it very badly. Mostly to know how everything gets resolved. Again, I don't know if that is the last book in this series. I'm hoping, because again, I prefer trilogies. I'm like, don't go further than that or you might lose me. But hoping it's the last one. But regardless, I'm going to read it, and I really want to read it, because I want to see what happens, and also because I want to see what happens with Bastien and Celine in the Fae world, in the Fae realm, because they are going to escape into the Fae realm because Celine's past has finally caught up to her. A detective or something from France has tracked her down and wants to investigate her for the murder she committed in France. So they're trying to escape that, so they go into the Fae realm. But I'm also definitely intrigued by what's going to happen when Arjun goes to serve Sunan. I think that was the Fae's name. I think it's Sunan. Because Arjun, when they all went into the Fae realm looking for Sunan, because Sunan could potentially turn Bastien human, when they went searching for him, without knowing it, they met him, but he didn't reveal himself as who he truly was. And so Arjun promised 9 weeks, several weeks of labor to him in exchange for letting them pass and return from going into the wild, which is the darker side of the Fae realm, into the Silver Court? The Sylvan Court. I don't know. Into the other one where Celine's mom is basically the queen. Whatever it's called. He promised that, so I'm very intrigued about what Sunan's gonna ask Arjun to do, and so I do want to follow up on that. And I also want to follow up on what Pippa is going to do now that she knows that Michael Grimaldi is a werewolf, and she is trying to find out information about what's going on with Celine, who fucking disappeared out of nowhere essentially. So vibing, definitely interested. definitely interested in what Emily is going to do now that her husband has been killed, and now that she got her revenge on, what's that man's name? Nicodemus. Now that she got her revenge on Nicodemus and Nicodemus burned to a crust, I want to see what she does next. So again, the curiosity is still there. The vibes are still there. So overall, after this chaotic, rambling experience, I do not regret it, and I want to know what happens next. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this mess, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.